How's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are here for yet another match of the quarterfinals in Toulouse. Australia taking on France. The winner of this game goes on to face off against Ireland. So we will have to wait and see exactly who that will be. But for the Australians, Nick Maloof, Henry Hutchinson in the starting lineup alongside Lawson, Josh Turner, Corey Toole, Ben Dowling and Matthew Gonzalez. Then for France, it is Lagel Huyard in the starting lineup as well. Mignot Mazzolini, who actually in the last game that we did cover, he was coming off the bench. Then it is Riva, Trabal, and then also Grandidier in that starting lineup. So it will be exciting to see who is able to get themselves a victory in this matchup, which is only about 30 seconds away from getting out there onto the park in Toulouse. But currently, I believe local time, it is sitting somewhere approximately around 8 p.m. And both of these sides, they will be happy with the way that they progressed throughout their group stage. Australia winning 2 games, just losing their first game up against the US by 5 points, whereas France, they were looking very strong indeed, and they only had the 1 loss in their group, and that was to Fiji, 33 points to 21. But in front of their home crowd here to lose, or France, I should say, they'll be excited to see how it ends up going. But it is going to be AJ Jacobs, the South African, in charge of this matchup. Like I mentioned, whoever wins goes through to face off with Ireland. Whoever loses goes on to face off with Argentina for a chance of being able to qualify as the 5th to 8th place team. And neither side of that group will be South Africa or New Zealand, 2 massive sides missing out on the last stage of the comp. But now it will be Australia kicking off this one in the form of Ben Dowling. They will be ready to go. France, they have said that they haven't reached the semi-final in a home event in 6 years. So that will be what they try and change here, but it is going to be trying to slap it back down. It was actually Josh Turner, but instead now sits on the side of France. Going to be a big run forward from Huyard. Going forward, brilliant run, and keeping a couple extra meters going forward for France after that breakdown as well. Now running forward off to the side. Riva now trying to step his son a big old fend on Corey Toole. Big shot on the midsection there. That was a good tackle from Ben Dowling. They need to make sure that Australia, the defensive side of things has been very impressive as of late. And now stepping forward, unable to find the offload there, unfortunately, for Mazzolini. And because of that, it has been turned over now by the Australians. Whipped out. Henry Hutchinson gives it to Corey Toole, who has got pace to burn. If he does get any kind of space, gives the ball on the inside to Nick Maloof. Now looking for the offload back to Toole, but isn't able to find it. Instead, in the breakdown, France have been able to steal it clean. Flick out the back now. And this is looking dangerous. France move up to the 22. And this is still going to be an interesting first half. I'm not sure what's happening with the scoreboard. It's decided it doesn't like me, but that is going to be the try. And now Mazzolini does score it, and that will now have to update itself in the scoreboard side of things. But it will be France who have scored themselves their first try of the match, and it is in the form of Mazzolini. I did mention how he wasn't in the starting lineup for the last matchup, but he certainly is now. It was a flick out the back from Pauline Riva. Was able to find it into the hands of Grandidier. And then from there, Mazzolini, there was a slip from Henry Hutchinson. As soon as he slipped, he knew that was going to be trouble for his side. And France have been able to score themselves their first try of the match. So currently, we do know that it is Ireland, Samoa, one of these 2 sides. And then the other side will either be Fiji or the USA in the quarterfinals. But it is getting closer and closer to us knowing exactly who is in there for the semifinals of the women's side of things, and also for the men's. But currently, there is a lot of rugby going on, not just sevens, but union happening at the same time. Riva taking that one nicely for France. They have had a majority of the position for the early stages of this quarterfinals now. Trabal trying to go down the wing close to the touchline. Wrestled out. Brilliant work from Australia being able to outmuscle him there. And they do force them out. And now Australia, they take it quickly. It did just travel the 5 meters. And now Corey Toole, quick step. They've got a 4-on-2 here on the outside, but they do decide instead go back across to the left. Maybe wasn't the best choice for Australia. Now Ben Dowling. It's going to be tackled. It was a high shot there from Trabal. Taking the quick dab now, Josh Turner. Running it straight sideways. Currently for Australia, they don't seem like they've quite been able to find that gap in the French defensive line that they would like to. Corey Toole now trying to step offload it back into the hands of, I believe it was Gonzalez. And now he is starting to charge forward. It's a good tackle by his opposite number, Mignot. And it will be the turnover for France as well, which makes the crowd very happy, as it is in front of a home crowd for the French. And imagine the scenes if they were able to get themselves a home ground victory, and not just the quarters, not just the semis, but also making their way through to the finals. So the first quarterfinal meeting between these two teams since San Diego in 2007. So it's been about 15 years since we have seen these two sides play off in a finals matchup. So that is that's an insane stat, in fact. But now Riva kicks it for touch, and it will be France who have now got themselves that line-out opportunity. Throwing the ball in, it is going to be Mazzolini. Australia, they just haven't really had any kind of position in the early stages. Mazzolini, about to throw it in, it goes to the back, and it's taken nicely by Legal. Now offloaded back up to Mignot. Now Riva, attack and run. Corey Toole able to make the tackle on him, and now it's a wide flick out pass. Waiting for it. Corey Toole also having to work hard there. He's just attacking the ball, but unfortunately for Australia, if you can't get your hands on the ball, you're not going to be able to do too much damage with it, and they currently are still waiting for it. Now it's stolen by Australian. Great work from Nick Maloof. And now it is going to be another good opportunity. Big bump off, and he's gone through Nick Maloof. And that will be the first try of the match for the Australians. Now, it was actually Nathan Lawson, the one who put in that initial big hit that was able to steal it. And go Australia, there's Viniana there. And yeah, if Australia win this, they will go on to face off with Ireland in the semi-final, which would be a very exciting contest. But it was a big shot there. Nick Maloof just shoves off Riva, and also Grandier. He did leave that gap open, and once he did get a little bit of steam going, he was gone. And Nick Maloof was able to do brilliantly. Like they're saying, he's actually normally a winger, even though he looks like he could be in the flanks for the matchup. But that is going to make the score now 7-7 between these two sides. And at the moment, one phase for Australia, and literally probably about 30% position throughout the first half of this matchup. And now Maloof does kick it high, waiting for this one to come down. It's going to be not quite taken cleanly, and that is a knock on from Australia. I believe Trabal. He's got the bleeding nose there for Trabal, and also a wedgie in the process, which is not a fun combination. But currently in this game, it is 7-7 between these two sides, even though the scoreboard does say otherwise. But the last two errors we've seen both from France. Only 1 minute left in this first half. And now Gonzalez about to feed this ball, and I'm looking through at the bench for both of these sides. You got Patterson, you got Dietrich Roach, and also Maurice Longbottom for the Australians. Jordan Sefo, he's going to be a big one, come off the bench for France in the later stages. But for now, they have still got another 50 seconds of this first half. It's going to be a big push from Australia. Goes down the front row, and it is actually an early push from Lawson, picking the ball up and going again now for France, using that aggression and that acceleration. Riva offloads it back. Nicely done. Indiria now goes on the outside. It's dropped on the wing. And that could have been a good opportunity, but Trabal puts it down. Now Australia going to continue going, and Trabal's nose is still bleeding at this point in time. Corey Toole, wide cut out pass off to Nick Maloof. Just try and step back on the inside. That seems to be the tactic that Australia have been going with. Force it wide, then bring it back, bring it back across into the middle. Now Lawson gets his ankle tapped. But it was a brilliant job from France in the defensive line now. Currently only 10 seconds left in this half. Corey Toole, in fact. Looks like he might be lurking for this one, and also it will be a tough game between these two teams, says Nicky. It certainly will. It's going to be the advantage now to Australia. Now Gonzalez goes out into the hands of the youngster Dowling. He's got the toe that he requires, and that is going to be the try now to Australia right at the end of the first half. They've done very nicely, Australia, to be able to get that try. Ben Dowling, his second try of Toulouse. This match, it is his first. He has taken some big, deep breaths. This game has been played at a frantic pace. We've hardly even seen, I think we've seen one line out in the process and one scrum. Other than that, everything else has been all-out pace between these two sides. But a nice ball from Gonzalez, gave it off to Dowling, who then backed himself to be able to beat Grandier, and he was able to do just that and score the try to give Australia the lead going into the second half. Now, with a nice, easy conversion, you don't want to take anything for granted, but that one has gone over from Ben Dowling, so able to convert his own try. And now at halftime, The score is 14 points to 7 in favour of Australia. But the next game that we are covering on the channel, ladies and gentlemen, it will be kicking off at 7:03 New Zealand time, and that will be the matchup taking place between Fiji and also the USA. So that will be an entertaining fixture, and that will require, that will actually, determine who we are going to have as the last team in the quarterfinals, semi-finals. In fact, my words are all over the place. It's currently 6:15 here in New Zealand, and that is in the AM. So we've been up for about 15 hours, and in that time, we've probably done about 10 hours of live streams. So I'm surprised my voice is still working in favour of Australia, and go Australia. There's MH Joy there as well. Now, Australia, they will be focused for the second half. They've got Roach, Longbottom, like I mentioned, two guys who can definitely have an impact. But France, Jordan Sefo, he is one that you certainly can't look past for being an absolute impact player. It's currently quite hot there still in Toulouse, about 28 degrees, but with it being a little bit overcast, it may be cooling down the players just a tad more than if the sun was blaring. But it is getting to the evening time over there. This is about the third last game of the day, I believe, and 2:15 a.m. in Malaysia and 11 a.m. in Las Vegas, USA. And there, as I says, Nikki, okay, so it's 11 a.m. for yourself. So that means that the final, I think, or the semi-final, in fact, is going to be a 5 a.m. start for you or somewhere around there. That's going to be a rough one. But yeah, Samoa, they have already made it through. Ireland have already made it through, but the final should be a nice morning time for you, I believe, Nikki. Now, it's about to kick off for the second half. Australians a 7-point lead, and they will want to extend that a little bit more. Going into the later stages, it has gone to 10. It's going to be taken nicely by Australia. Do have to try and hang on to a majority of the possession. We saw how effective France were when they had their ball, and they are trying to wrestle it back, and they've done just that. Now finding the offload, and straight away, Mignot scores the try between the posts, and that is going to be the try for France. And just like that, second half starts 20 seconds in, and they have already been able to score themselves a try. 2 tries in Toulouse for Mignot, but it was a huge amount of pressure on Corey Toole on the ground. And then from there, it was stolen by Grandier, and then straight up into the hands of Mignot. And that is how you start a second half. And also, we get the thumbs up from Nikki there as well. But I guess from the teams that you've seen going through so far, Nikki, who is your favourite in terms of who you think will be able to go all the way? And also, we have got there, Levi has said go Australia. And at the moment, it is getting just a little bit closer. Come on, Australia, Ireland waiting, says Viniana. Yeah, that will be an exciting semi-final. That one doesn't look like, it has just gone the 10. Brilliantly done. And now it's going to be a knock-on advantage in favour of France. They're going back for the initial scrum. And Dietrich Roach and Longbottom both out on the field, and they don't look too happy with that call now. But 5 minutes 50 left in this game. And speaking of Irish rugby, Leinster versus Munster has just kicked off. So yeah, anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, because we are going to be covering a little bit of that on the channel as well while this match is taking place. And also, while the later game is taking place, we will keep you guys updated on what the scores are in that game. And also the classic All Blacks versus the Spanish side. We will also keep you informed of that one. But now, backline movement looking like it's about to start for the French. Wide cutout pass off to Trabal, who definitely backs himself when he does get a one-on-one, but now down the wing, close to the touchline for France. Hanging on to this one just. It was a good tackle from Josh Turner, though. Now Trabal going back across. I'm looking for Jordan Sefo. I don't believe he's made his way back out onto the field as of yet. Hoyard with a very nice run. Now finds the offload down the wing for France. 25 out from the line. Now Grandier does play halfback now across to the hands of, it was Lagal. Now wide ball off to the young stepping winger at number 7, like they're saying. He is tall, he is dangerous, and his name is Capella. And he has been taken down now by the Australian defence, trying to steal it in the breakdown, unable to do so. Now France got this one 40 metres out from the line. Riva is it off now into the hands of Hoyard. Isn't able to quite find the link-up ball to Mazzolini. And now it's going back for the penalty to Australia for the player leaving his feet in the breakdown, taking the quick tap now. And it's going to be Maurice Longbottom, who thinks he's going to be quick enough, finds the ball on the inside. Dietrich Roach certainly will be quick enough, or will he? Lagal might get to him. No, he doesn't. And it is a try for Dietrich Roach. And that gives Australia now the lead back in this game. Even though our scoreboard does not realise that France have scored their second try, they have. And now Australia, they have been able to get their third. Well, it's nicely done by Maurice Longbottom. Saw the gap down the wing and then found that ball on the inside to Dietrich Roach. It was a brilliant chase from Jonathan Legel, who was almost able to catch Roach. But in the end, just not quite able to stop him from putting that ball down. And Australia now have got themselves the 19 points to 14 lead with Dietrich Roach's kick to come. He has missed the way to the side, which does now mean that there is still only 5 points difference. But Dietrich Roach, for the series points, he is sitting at the very top with 249, followed by Terry Kennedy, Corey Toole. Riva is on there as well. And then it is Ronald Brown sitting in there at number 5 on that list. Now 3.5 minutes left in the second half. Australia currently up by 5. I don't think it will be enough at this current point in time, though. They will need another try, and they will need to try and stop France from being able to get themselves one of their own. Currently hanging on to this one just outside of their own 22. Raguha is now out on the field. That's a penalty against Australia for offside, and it looks like once again Raguha going to be taking it quickly. Paulo Riva trying to work on some fancy footwork, finds the offload out now, and it's going to be down the wing. The youngster, like I mentioned a little bit earlier on, Capella finds the inside ball, and Raguha, he is going to be going over, and he puts the finger up in the air. He slams it down. He is celebrating. There's still time left, though. Still another 2.5 minutes, but France, with that try, they will be able to take the lead, and that is Raguha's first try into the Toulouse series. It was nicely done down the wing, though, by Capella. He's got plenty of pace for a big man, and he does use the perfect pass on the inside. And Raguha is able to go over, score the try for France. They did actually interview him near the end of the last match, and he was absolutely loving it. And he jumps up. He goes down, slams. Geez, that looked like a hard bit of contact on the ground. And currently 2 minutes left. Excited already. Looking forward to the last quarterfinal for my team, Fiji, says Viniana. And yeah, that match is going to be huge up against the USA. I know that Fiji would love to make their way through to the next round. And if they do so, they will be going head-to-head with Samoa. And also, I appreciate commentator for all the game live, says Nikki, no worries at all. And we have got plenty more coming tomorrow as well for the commentary of these matches. We do cover as much of the sevens as we can. We will be covering London next week as well for the men's and the women's. I think is it the women's sevens next week as well? I might have to quickly check that to see if the women's actually do have it next week. A moment, we'll go down. No, it's just the men next week. So no women's leg. And then there is also going to be men in 97 days. That is in Los Angeles. And alongside that, we've got the Commonwealth Games coming up relatively soon. And also the Sevens World Cup, all of which will be covered on the channel. At the moment, Australia, they are down by 2 points, and they have got a minute left on the clock. Using up a little bit more time here wouldn't be a terrible idea for them, as long as they know that they can get themselves over the try line. Henry Hutchinson having a step. He's actually tackled in the end by his teammate, Josh Turner, and because of it, it does become the penalty. France have got 50 seconds left on the clock. And now, I mean, at this point in time, you'd have to go and try and use up as much time as you can. But Josh Turner, he ended up on the wrong side of the ruck. That was due to him. And like I said, tough game. Says Nicky there as well, but it's going to be kicked into touch from Riva. And they are only going to be 10 metres out from the line with 30 seconds left on the clock. France, if they get themselves one last try here, that will certainly secure their spot in the semi-final to take on the Irish. Should be an exciting game, of course, in the Six Nations. For the Union side of things, we did see a tightly contested contest between France and Ireland. Perhaps the sevens matchup for the semi-final could be very similar. They are trying to steal this ball currently. They go to the front. Was it straight enough? They do say it was. And now in the middle of the field, passing it across field. That is going to be the siren. And it looks like France want one more try. And it's going wide. Trabal scores it as well. And by the looks of it, that will be the last try for France. Oh, there's a no try. It was a forward pass. France win the game, though. And that is going to mean that they move on to the semi-final. And the last time that these two sides played, it was in 2007 for the last time that these two sides played in a playoff game. And France have just made history for themselves at home. And they have been able to beat the Australians. So they will go through to take on Ireland. Australia, they will be taking on Argentina in their game, playing off for the 5th and 8th place position. So we will have to wait and see how that game transpires. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you do want to help us out, we have got a second channel. It is called the Kiwi Lads Sport, and we do post a lot of videos over on there. So if you do want to check that out, that is the link. And be sure to go over, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000. We're getting closer and closer to 900 at the moment. So yeah, if you do want to help us out, it is hugely appreciated. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. That is the end of this matchup. So it is Ireland versus France as the first semi-final. Then the next one, it will be whoever wins out of Fiji or the USA, and they will take on Samoa in the other semi-final. We have got there, says that, or Viniana has said thank you. There is no worries at all. And I do thank you very much for tuning in. And I will see you all in about 35 minutes time, I believe, is when our next live stream will be firing up. But I will see you all